At 34,000 feet, silence is a death sentence. Not a whisper from the cockpit, not a single plan on the radio, just an unidentified contact tearing towards civilian airspace faster than anything on record. And on the ground, one woman standing in a borrowed jacket, holding a clipboard no one looked twice at. They thought she was support staff. They never knew she was the silent ace, until the Raptor had no one left to fly it but her. You're watching the Storyscape, where forgotten heroes rise from the shadows and impossible missions come alive like never before. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Our community spans across the globe, and your voice matters. The Nevada desert glowed under a fading sun, its horizon a razor line of fire behind endless hangars and fences. On the surface, the base pulsed with routine. Crews clipped fuel lines into place. Mechanics argued over torque charts. Young officers fresh from OTS stumbled through their simulator rotations. Everything looked ordinary until the siren cut the night in half. It wasn't the low, steady drill tone that had become background noise. This was sharper, thinner, carrying urgency like a blade pressed to the spine. Even veterans stiffened. Doors slammed, radios screamed to life, boots thundered across the tarmac. Inside Hangar 12, the simulation room went dead silent. Screens flickered with a red vector flashing on radar, sliding across the grid at Mach 2.7 and accelerating. Its altitude was steady, its maneuvers were not. Unidentified aerial contact, the tower voice snapped, clipped and harsh. No transponder, not responding to warnings. Estimated breach of civilian airspace in 11 minutes. Scrambled protocol is in effect. Panic laced through the hangar. Cadets bolted toward lockers. Crew chiefs cursed into headsets. The commander's voice cut like thunder from the catwalk. "Where's Hawthorne? Get him in the air now." A voice shouted back, "Collapse, sir. Seizure in the locker room. He's unconscious." The commander's face hardened. "Valdez? F-16 only, sir, not Raptor qualified." "Then who the hell is cleared on the F-22? Silence. Dozens of eyes turned toward each other, searching for a name that wasn't there. And then a voice spoke. Calm, steady, so out of place in the chaos that everyone froze. "I am." Head snapped toward the corner of the hangar. A woman stood near a diagnostics console, hair pulled back, plain contractor uniform loose on her shoulders. A clipboard hung at her side. Her badge read, R.A. Lane. The commander glared down. "Identify yourself." She raised her chin. "Rachel Lane, callsign Ghost 7. Reactions rippled across the hangar like shockwaves. The cadets blinked, confused. Ghost meant nothing to them. But an older tech sergeant, gray hair at his temples, dropped his...
Rachel didn't flinch. She knowed. "But your Raptors are grounded. Your pilots are down. And whatever that is," she pointed at the flashing red dot on the radar, "isn't just probing. It's testing you. If you throw anyone else at it, you'll lose more than the jet. You'll lose this base." Some ghosts return only when the world has no one else left to call. The commander hesitated. Sirens screamed. Radios worked. And then the tower feed crackled again. "Unknown contact, accelerating, Mach 3, altitude steady, estimated breach in 10 minutes. The commander swallowed hard. "Get her in the air." Crews exploded into motion. Fuel carts rolled. Panels clanged open. The Raptor's canopy hissed as hydraulics came alive. And Rachel Lane, the woman nobody noticed, stepped toward the jet with a stride that made the airfield itself remember her name. The hangar transformed into a hive of panic and precision. Ground crews surged forward as if the order had shocked them awake. Fuel carts hissed, hydraulic hoses clamped into place, and the air vibrated with the rising hum of turbines spinning to life. Men and women who hadn't looked twice at Rachel Lane 10 minutes ago now moved like every second of their survival depended on her. She didn't sprint, she didn't shout. She simply walked, straight-backed, toward the waiting Raptor as if she had been making this journey every day of her life. The chatter on the radios blurred into one repeating truth. The red vector was closing fast. A young crew chief nearly tripped over himself to meet her at the foot of the ladder. "Ma'am, Ghost. Jets fueled, weapons loaded, standard package, systems hot. You'll need to configure weapons profile manually in flight." Her reply was simple. "I know." The kid blinked. "You're sure about this? Last time someone tried to run intercept on something that fast." She cut him off with a glance. "That's because they weren't me." The borrowed flight suit clung awkwardly to her frame, a size too large, creased from years on a shelf. No squadron patch, no embroidered nameplate. She didn't need them. The way she climbed the maintenance ladder, hand trailing across the jet's skin, told everyone watching that this aircraft remembered her. And the truth was, it did. The Raptor's canopy gaped open like a waiting jaw. Rachel slid into the cockpit, her movements guided by muscle memory older than fear. Buckles clicked into place without her eyes dropping to check them. Her hands moved in rhythm, straps across chest, shoulder harness tightened, oxygen mask sealed. Every sound, the metallic snap, the hydraulic sigh, wasn't strange. It was home. When the canopy lowered, sealing her into a glass, and yet here she was. Some ghosts don't fade. They wait for the sky to call them back. The HUD flickered alive, lines of digital green crawling across her visor. Systems scrolled into readiness, flight controls, avionics, targeting. Thrusters spooled up with a deep, steady vibration that climbed into her chest. She whispered to herself without realizing it, "Still with me." "Ghost 7, this is Tower. Confirm systems." She hesitated for half a beat. They'd said it. Not Rachel Lane, not civilian contractor. Ghost 7. Her hand closed around the stick. "Tower, Ghost 7. Systems online. Ready for taxi." "Copy," came the reply, steadier now. "The skies are yours." In the tower, radar techs stared at screens, but their eyes kept flicking back to the hangar. Cadets who had been fumbling simulations that morning now stood pressed to the glass, watching her roll forward. One whispered, "She was just, what, a software analyst?" An older tech shook his head. "No, she's what the software was built to imitate and still can't match." Outside, the Raptor glided across the tarmac, predatory and silent, guided by a single ground crewman waving orange batons. Its angular frame caught the last sliver of sunlight, turning into a shadow of sharp edges against the desert night. Rachel's pulse was steady, her breath calm. The jet moved beneath her like it knew her bones, but her mind wasn't quiet. She remembered the last time she had strapped into a cockpit, the mission where everything went wrong, the kind of classified sortie where the details were erased, but the scars never were. She had ejected over hostile ground, barely survived, and when she walked away, she sent only one message to her commanding officer: "Don't ask me to fly again." And she had meant it. Until now. The problem with promises is that the sky never keeps them. The radio barked again. "Unknown contact, now Mach 3.2, altitude steady. Breach in 9 minutes. Rachel's jaw tightened. She pushed the throttle forward. The Raptor roared as it rolled onto the runway. The tower's voice cut through. "Ghost 7, engage only with visual confirmation. Do not fire unless hostile intent is confirmed." Her lips curved in the faintest ghost of a smile. "If it escalates, Commander, you'll see the fire from here." With that, she pushed the throttle full forward. The runway blurred. The Raptor roared. Gravity slammed her back into the seat as the jet screamed down the strip and clawed into the sky. From the ground, Dozens of crew watched in breathless silence as the aircraft vanished into the cobalt dark above the mountains. Ghost 7, the desert fell away beneath her, shrinking into shadowed ridges and dry riverbeds as the Raptor climbed through the cobalt sky. Rachel pushed past 35,000 feet, the afterburners painting the horizon in streaks of orange fire. The jet trembled with restrained violence, but under her hands, it felt like an extension of her own pulse. Ghost 7, radar confirms intercept vector. Red contact now Mach 3.4. Altitude steady. Distance closing. Visual range in 2 minutes. Rachel adjusted trim, eyes narrowing on the horizon. The HUD blinked with a flashing red icon. It wasn't erratic. It was purposeful. Each maneuver sharp, adaptive, too clean for a pilot, too irregular for automation. She muttered to herself, almost a growl. Not flying, hunting. In the control tower, the room buzzed with disbelief. Younger officers leaned forward over consoles, staring at the two converging blips. She's not tracking it, one whispered. Her pattern's wrong. An older sergeant shook his head. Not wrong. Ghosts don't chase, they read. Rachel cut throttle suddenly, forcing the jet into a steep drop that pinned her against the harness. Warnings blared, altitude plunging. But she wasn't panicking. She was listening. The Raptor shuddered through the dive, and then she caught it. A flicker against the cloud bank, a shadow weaving like a serpent through sunlight. There it was, sleek, black, unmarked, a delta wing design with edges too sharp for comfort. The contact wasn't trying to escape. It was angling toward her blind spot. Her HUD chirped. Contact confirmed. Tower, Ghost 7, visual established. Target unmanned or pilot linked. Either way, it's not observing, it's responding. Ghost confirm hostile before engagement. Rachel's lips pressed into a line. She didn't need confirmation. The thing had already chosen her. Some enemies don't announce themselves. They mirror you until you break. The drone twisted suddenly, folding into an impossible angle, then snapped level again with predatory ease. Rachel's stomach knotted. That move, she had seen it once before. Kandahar, the sortie no one talked about, the maneuver that ended in a funeral. Her jaw clenched. So, someone taught you my language. The drone dipped low, engines screaming, then surged upward in a climb that tested even the Raptor's thrust. Rachel followed, pushing G-forces through her chest like bricks. Sweat stung her eyes, but her movements were surgical. Roll, counter-roll.
Rachel's breath stayed calm. This wasn't about chasing. It was about rhythm. She cut thrust again, letting the drone overshoot by meters, then re-engaged in a brutal climb. The G's pressed her body into the seat, her vision tunneling, but she didn't flinch. The drone corrected instantly, sliding into position behind her tail. Too precise, too confident. Rachel whispered into the mask, "You're not alive. You're code, and code can't improvise." If she was right, the machine's arrogance would be its first mistake. If she was wrong, it would be her last. The warning tone screamed, "Target lock." Her HUD flared as 2 micro-missiles lanced from the drone's wings, heat seekers, closing fast. Rachel's instincts fired. She rolled the Raptor inverted, flares spitting from her wingtips like fireflies in a storm. The missiles swerved, detonating harmlessly in twin blossoms of flame. The tower erupted in shouts. "It's armed! Repeat! Hostile confirmed! Ghost, you are cleared to engage!" Rachel didn't answer. Her jaw was steel, her eyes locked on the dark silhouette darting through the clouds.
She wasn't chasing it anymore. She was stalking it. Her targeting system chirped. Lock acquired. Her thumb hovered over the trigger. Commander, I've got tone. Fire at will. But she didn't fire, not yet. Her gaze slid to the lake below, the shimmer of water catching what little twilight remained. Too close to civilian corridors, too dangerous. Negative, not here. I'm luring it out. She banked hard, dragging the drone toward the lake basin, her jet screaming as it skimmed treetop level. The drone followed, always behind, always perfect. Her HUD blinked again. The drone's heat signature fractured into 3. Countermeasures, decoys. Rachel's visor snapped into thermal mode, scanning. One signature burned brighter than the rest, the real one. Her breath steadied. She armed a missile. Locking. Locking. The HUD lit red. Target locked. Rachel whispered, "Let's see if you bleed." Her finger pressed down, and the missile streaked into the night, a silver dart tearing the sky apart. On radar, it looked like certainty. On the ground, recruits cheered. In the cockpit, Rachel didn't. Because at the last possible second, the drone folded its wings inward and dove vertical, vanishing into a maneuver no standard airframe should have survived. Her missile detonated harmlessly in a burst of flame across empty sky. The tower went silent. Then the radar tech spoke, his voice pale. Missile missed, target still active. Maneuvers, a normal. Rachel's jaw tightened. That wasn't evasion. That was intent. It's not running. It's playing. Machines don't toy with prey. Pilots do. The drone zipped upward, rolling through the clouds.
The Raptor groaned under her as she forced it into a corkscrew climb, muscles screaming against the G-forces. Her vision pulsed at the edges, tunneling black. But she held. The drone matched her, every degree, every correction, like a shadow pinned to her skin. In the tower, the commander slammed a fist onto the console. "She's burning herself out. Pull her back." "No," the older tech sergeant snapped. "This is her proving ground. Ghost doesn't chase, she breaks patterns." Rachel killed thrust mid-climb, letting the jet shudder into a near stall before slamming throttle forward again. The sudden lag forced the drone to overshoot. For half a heartbeat, she was behind it, crosshairs brushing its tail. Her HUD locked tone. "Got you." She fired. Another missile screamed free, then detonated against nothing. The drone had banked at the exact microsecond she expected it not to. Rachel cursed under her breath. "They taught you to think like me, but they didn't teach you to feel like me." If this thing really was her reflection, then the only way to beat it was to do what even she hated: break herself. She cut hard left, nose dipping toward the lake, altitude crashing. Warning shrieked in her ears. The drone followed, tireless, calculating. Her body pressed against the harness, blood draining from her head, lungs clawing for oxygen. But her hands never shook. She yanked the Raptor into a brutal barrel roll, diving past tree lines so close her wings skimmed vapor trails from the water's surface. The drone mirrored. Almost. Almost. Because for the first time, it hesitated. A flicker of imbalance. Its code was calculating risk. Rachel wasn't. She slammed throttle, pulling into a vertical climb so savage her spine screamed. The drone copied, but a fraction slower. That fraction was her opening. The control room gasped as her blue radar blip suddenly cut across the red vector's path, looping behind it in an arc no one else on base would have dared. "She's behind it," a cadet whispered. She's hunting it." The older sergeant nodded grimly. That's Ghost. She maps your heartbeat, then stops it. Rachel armed her last missile. Her HUD sang lock tone. This ends now. Her finger pressed down. The drone flared decoys, a trio of countermeasures splitting across the sky. Her thermal visor flicked on, scanning. She saw the real heat signature, trailing just slightly heavier. She fired. The missile screened into the clouds, detonating in a bloom of fire. Shrapnel scattered across the night. The tower erupted in cheers. Splash 1, target destroyed. But Rachel didn't celebrate, because through the fireball, a shadow slipped out, unharmed. The drone had sacrificed a decoy with a copied signature, faking its own death. Two micro-missiles streaked toward her from the glare, fast and merciless. Rachel yanked the Raptor into a snap roll, flares spitting, metal groaning. One missile exploded behind her wing. The second glanced her left stabilizer. The cockpit jolted violently. Smoke billowed through the seals. Warning lights strobed blood red. Tower, Ghost 7, I'm hit. Stabilizer compromised, hydraulics bleeding. Abort, the commander barked. Return to base, that's an order. Rachel's voice was iron. Negative. If I run, it wins. The Raptor limped through the night, trailing fire. Her breath came ragged, her chest heaving against the harness. Yet her eyes never left the drone's silhouette, circling above. She whispered to the jet itself, "One more run, girl. Just one more." The drone angled down, diving straight toward her damaged Raptor, with a kill vector that no maneuver could dodge. Rachel's hand hovered over the ejection handle. Her voice was calm, flat, absolute. "I don't eject, not tonight." And she shoved the throttle forward into the oncoming fire. Smoke curled into her helmet. The acrid stench of burning insulation filled Rachel's lungs, mixing with the metallic bite of oxygen from the mask. Warning tones overlapped into a chaotic symphony. Hydraulic failure, stabilizer compromised, fuel leak detected. Each alarm was a demand to quit. Her hand hovered near the ejection lever. She didn't move. "Ghost 7, eject now," the commander thundered through the radio. "You've done enough. We'll scramble drones for interception. Get out." Rachel's reply was flat, almost too calm. "Negative. Ejecting means the machine wins, and I don't let ghosts write my ending." Some battles aren't about survival. They're about refusing to surrender your name. The drone circled above, predatory, dipping in calculated arcs. Its silhouette was inhuman, sharp as broken glass, yet every angle of its pursuit carried a familiarity that gnawed at Rachel's chest. Whoever programmed it hadn't just stolen tactics, they had stolen her soul of flight. She rolled the crippled Raptor, fighting the wounded stabilizer. The jet shuddered like a wounded animal, but it responded, barely. "Come on, girl," Rachel whispered, hand stroking the throttle as if coaxing a companion. "One more dance." The drone angled in for another strike. Two bright flares streaked from its wings, missiles cutting through the night like blades. Rachel slammed the Raptor into a dive. The G-force clawed at her ribs, but she held. Countermeasure pods spit sparks into the dark, flares chasing her descent. One missile detonated in the cloud wake, rattling her bones. The second screamed past her canopy, so close the shockwave cracked her HUD display. Her eyes stayed cold, missed me. In the tower, recruits were pale, their knuckles white on consoles. One finally asked the question trembling in everyone's throat. "Why won't she eject?" The older sergeant didn't look away from the radar. His voice was low, almost reverent. "Because ejecting isn't living for her. Flying is. If she dies in that cockpit, she dies as Ghost 7. That's the difference."
Rachel pulled the Raptor level at treetop height, skimming the lake's surface. Water sprayed behind her in twin fans. The drone chased, skimming even lower, its shadow gliding across the reflection. Predator, chasing predator. Her HUD screamed with another lock. She whispered, "Not this time." She killed her engines. The Raptor dropped like a stone. For a heartbeat, everything inside her went weightless, stomach wrenching, silence crushing. The drone overshot, expecting thrust that wasn't there. She reignited at the last second, afterburners igniting with a thunderous boom that lit the sky gold. The Raptor surged upward, claws bared. Her targeting system sang. Lock. She fired. The missile streaked upward, unerring, slicing through the night. It detonated. For a moment, the horizon bloomed with fire. Fragments rained into the lake below. The tower erupted. Target destroyed. Splash confirmed. Rachel didn't cheer. Her eyes stayed fixed on the fireball until smoke thinned, and something black slipped out, unbroken. Her heart sunk. Negative. It's still flying. Every time she thought she'd killed it, the reflection came back sharper. The drone looped, cutting above her canopy, then diving straight for her wounded wing. Impact alarm shrieked. She pulled, but the stabilizer lagged. Metal groaned like bones cracking. Sparks spit from her left side as the drone clipped her wingtip, tearing a jagged scar through composite armor. The Raptor spun once, violently, before Rachel's grip forced it steady. Sweat burned her eyes. Her chest heaved. Go 7. Eject now. Her answer? Negative. If this is my grave, it's also its. She angled nose up, throwing into a climb so brutal her vision darkened. Blood rushed from her head, stars exploding across her sight. She bit down, forcing herself awake. Altitude screamed upward, 40,000, then 45,000. The air thinned, her canopy frosting at the edges. Her jet bled speed, struggling to hold. The drone pursued, curious, climbing with her. Her whisper was a vow. Follow me higher. Let's see if your code can handle heaven. At 50,000 feet, the Raptor stalled. Engines choked. The jet dropped, plummeting nose down. Rachel killed thrust completely. For a heartbeat, the world went utterly silent. No engines, no alarms, just gravity. The drone, confused, overshot again, cutting below her belly, exactly where she wanted it. She reignited engines mid-plummet. The cockpit shook as turbines screamed back to life. Target reticle lit red. Lock. Her finger pressed the trigger. The missile fired clean, straight and perfect, then exploded in a bloom of fire. And out of the inferno, the drone dove straight at her cockpit, faster than anything she had ever seen. Her last words in the part, "So be it." The drone burst out of the fireball like a phantom made of steel.
"Tower," she said, voice calm over the chaos. "Keep your eyes open. They'll see this from the ground." She cut her engines. The Raptor topped like dead weight, gravity dragging her nose first toward the desert. At the last heartbeat, the drone overshot, flashing above her canopy. Rachel reignited the turbines with a roar that shook her bones, the Raptor clawing skyward like a predator reborn. Lock tone. Her final missile screamed into the dark. This time, it struck true. The explosion tore the heavens open, fragments of burning metal scattering like dying stars. Rachel's breath rasped in her mask. Splash 1, target destroyed. But the cockpit still wailed with alarms, hydraulics gone, fuel almost empty. The Raptor shook with every vibration, every gust of air. She wasn't out of danger. She had simply traded one enemy for another. Gravity. "Ghost 7, the commander's voice cracked.
suddenly human. "You've done enough. Eject. That's an order." Rachel's eyes slid to the orange handle beneath her gloves. For a moment she thought about it. Then she shook her head. "Negative. If I leave her here, it wins. We're going home together." The Raptor limped across the night, trailing smoke over the desert floor. Rachel's hands moved with impossible care, coaxing, persuading, as though the jet were a wounded animal. "Stay with me, girl. Just one more glide." Below, the base lit up like a beacon. Floodlights bathed the runway in white. Fire crews lined the strip. Medics waited in silence. Every pair of eyes was on the broken shadow clawing its way home. 2,000 feet. Too fast. Rachel killed both engines. 500 feet. Nose up. Barely enough control left to hold her angle. 50 feet. Sparks erupted as steel screamed against concrete, the Raptor skidding across the strip, belly grinding fire into the night. The cockpit shook, straps tearing into her chest, smoke clawing at her lungs. She held the stick with iron hands until the jet spun once, groaned, and stopped. For a moment, silence owned the desert. Then her voice cracked back over comms. "Tower, this is Ghost 7. The sky doesn't flinch, and neither do I." The canopy hissed open. Smoke poured out as Rachel climbed down, helmet tucked under her arm. She stood in the floodlights with soot across her face and fire still smoldering. Rachel turned to the battered jet, laying a gloved hand on its scarred wing. "I kept you in the sky. You brought me home." The commander raised his radio. "Updater file. Ghost 7, active reserve." Rachel shook her head. "I didn't ask for that." "You don't get to hide anymore," he said. She didn't answer. Her eyes lifted to the horizon, where fragments of the drone still burned as they fell into the dark. For years she had buried Ghost 7. Tonight, the world dug her back up. As she walked past the silent ranks of recruits, every one of them straightened, not because they were ordered to, but because they had seen what it meant to fight when surrender wasn't an option. The desert night swallowed the noise. The Raptor smoldered like a monument behind her, and the ghost walked home.